And we are live. G'day everyone, Mike Jeffrey here, and you are listening to My Creative Journey, episode number 23. To all you new listeners out there, hello and thank you so much for taking the time to stop by here today. As I said, my name is Mike and I'm a wedding photographer from Sydney, Australia. Each week on the show I bring you guys along on the highs and lows of my own creative journey and share all the knowledge that I've gained along the road to building my own freelance business. In this week's episode I want to touch on the best strategy I have for growing a business, a brand or a career. Most small businesses struggle to get going in the start because they forget about this one crucial yet blindingly obvious step. I'm definitely not preaching anything new here, but hopefully in this episode I can say something that resonates with you guys and hopefully spark a change in the way that you think about business. But before I jump into that, let's talk about what has been going on for me this past week. And to be honest, it's been quite a relaxed week. I haven't really been up to a lot. I haven't gone out and taken many photos recently, so haven't been working at editing those. So I've had a bit of downtime and been working a lot on the back end of the business, working with a lot of admin tasks and answering a lot of emails and just responding to a fair few people out there with a few inquiries as well. But then also working through just a lot of my other stuff on the back end, making sure that I know where I'm at into the future and knowing what are the next steps that do need to happen. I feel like you can easily get lost in the big cycle of not knowing what comes next and not knowing what the next thing is for the next person. So I've been trying to get working with that this week and trying to make sure that I'm on top of where I'm up to for each individual client and knowing all the next steps that I need to take for all of those different people. I also did a lot of work on some images to post on social media. I've been very slack on social media over the past few weeks, to be honest. I haven't really posted much at all, and I think that has been a bit of a hassle for me. It's been starting to weigh a little bit on me because I don't like to spend a lot of time on social media, but I know that it's important for business, so I've been trying to do my best, but over the past couple of weeks it has been really hard, especially with a lot of other work going on. I get to the end of the day and don't really feel like actually posting on social media. I've always had this mentality that I really should be posting on Instagram a lot, and I should be posting in the evenings or in the afternoons because that's when the most amount of people are on there. But more recently, I've been starting to post just at the occasion when I actually think about posting. If that happens to be at 8 o'clock in the morning, I will post then. If it happens to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll post then, because I think it's more important to have the content out there than to be constantly stressing about having to have it done at that one particular time. For me, it's always been a bit of a challenge posting in the evenings because I do have quite a lot on there and I like to end work by about 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't like to be working all through the night. And so if I'm ending work at 5, then to go back on Instagram at 6:30 and take half an hour to upload a photo and then spend time actually interacting with other people on the platform, that can actually take up a lot of my evening. So trying to get that done earlier in the day and trying to get it done whenever I think of it, because I think most importantly with Instagram or any other social media apps is having it there so people can go back. It's not always about people being online and seeing the photos right then and there. It's about when a new prospective client comes to my Instagram feed and they're scrolling through, that they can actually see a collection of images there, that they can see the work that I've done. So regardless of whether they saw it as soon as I uploaded it or they're looking at it in 3 months' time, the photos are still there. So it doesn't really matter, and I need to sort of get that through my head and sort of make sure that I am updating that a lot so that if new people do come along, that they can see that I'm actually working and see that I'm really constantly updating that sort of stuff there. I also did a bit of work on my financials over the past week because, as you guys know, we're heading up to the end of financial year at the moment. So I've been trying to work out how much I've actually made for the past year and work out my expenses and all little things like that, so I can sort of make sure that I'm ahead of that. So if I do need to change anything in these last couple of weeks or do need to actually work anything out for that sort of stuff, so I can be ahead of it and know whether anything else needs to be collected, because I don't like that to be there in a few months' time. I don't like to have that work to be done later on in advance when I have the time now. So I've been trying to get that a little bit knocked out of the way as well. I think in this bit of a downturn at the moment, I've been really contemplating about some of the other things that I could be doing with my time and trying to maximize my time as much as possible. And I've been thinking a lot about the work in the wedding photography industry, about how far in advance it is and how sort of sporadic it is as well, because sometimes you can go a few months without actually having any work, depending on the time of year, depending on how much work you do get, of course. But it's always mostly going to be on weekends, most of the work. So trying to think about other ways that I can utilize my skills as a photographer through the week and try to be out there taking photos more. I think I really started in photography because I enjoyed the art of actually taking photos. And I've spoken about this on the podcast before about trying to do the work that you really enjoy. And that is something that really resonates with me. And that is something that has led me to try to look at other avenues of how I can use the skills that I have in photography to actually take more photos and actually use my time to be actually doing those sorts of things and not be spending so much time on things that I don't enjoy. If that means that I have to outsource a bit of editing, outsource a bit of admin tasks or to do other things to work around that, then so be it, because in the end, I'll be doing a lot more work that I really enjoy and hopefully that will spark me to do more and have a more long career in this rather than just something that I'm enjoying in the here and now, but I can't maintain long term. So making sure that I'm only doing the work that I really enjoy, I think is a great way to maintain that long term. And I've been trying to think of other ways where I can, really use those skills that I do have. And so you may see some movement over the next couple of months with me trying to advertise other different types of services that I can provide through the week, for instance, provide in the afternoon, other different types of photography gigs that I can do to try and really use my skills a lot more than I really have been at the moment. And being in this bit of a lull period has really reminded me of how much I enjoy taking photos and how sad it is that I can't actually go out and take photos at the moment because I'm not getting a lot of inquiries in these months, and also I don't think I ever will in these months at the moment. So whether that be I need to move around to where the actual clients are, or I need to offer more services to more people and be able to give sort of discounts or actually run sales at this time of the year to promote more people to actually book with me through these months so I can maintain the skills and actually keep up the workflow that I've been on over the past couple of months. And apart from that, I haven't really been doing a lot of work over the past week. It's been a pretty lazy week for me, to be honest, and I haven't been doing quite as much work as I probably should have, but I think I've been doing work in other areas and I've had quite a lot of other stuff on over the past week, so I've sort of been prioritizing that a bit more. As you guys may know, I'm training for another half marathon at the moment, which is coming up, as you're hearing this, probably in less than 2 weeks. So been training pretty hard for that and been trying to get out and get some miles in the legs, because I think that's so important. And it's been really hard for me of recent to try and get those miles in the legs, because I don't like to run in the dark. And at the moment, we're not getting many hours of daylight through the day, and I like to work through the day. So I've been trying to end work a little bit earlier in the afternoon and try to go for that run towards the later afternoon and try to get it in before dark, but it hasn't always been happening. So over this past week, I've been trying to really prioritize that and get that done, even over some of the work that I probably should be doing. So that has been one of the things that has been taken up my time, but I think it's a good priority to have, because it's been something that I've been trying to work towards for a long time. And you guys will know, if you've been here from the start, that I've been training for my half marathon for quite a while. I did run one back at the start of April, and now this is my second one in early July. So been really working hard for that, and it's been going really well. So that's been really nice as well, but hard to find the time, I think, in the winter months to try and actually get out there and run while it's still actually light, because I don't like running around in the dark. So yeah, that has been really taking up a bit of my time, but apart from that, not really much excuses. Also wanted to touch on last week's episode, because in my opinion, it probably wasn't the best episode that I've ever recorded, and I'm okay to admit that. I think I really sat down here and I did know what I wanted to talk about, but I think some occasions the words just sort of elude me and I can't really find what I actually want to say, and not always being able to put it into the most concise way I've ever wanted to. And I think last week's episode was an example of that, where I think I had a good point to actually touch on, and I wanted to talk about a lot of different things in the way that I price my work and a lot of things that I'd been thinking about over the past week. But being able to convey that message to a broad audience has always been something that I've found very difficult. And I try to keep these episodes as broad as possible. And I know I'm not really targeting a specific type of person with these episodes. And I know there are a very broad range of people who listen to these episodes as well. So I don't really want to get into the weeds too much with the types of things that I think about. So trying to keep it as open as possible for as many people to listen to, but also trying to provide as much value for people who are actually after that sort of information and trying to start things for themselves. So that has always been tough for me. And I think last week's episode was just an example of one where where the words, probably didn't come out the way that I wanted to, and I probably didn't explain the things that I really wanted to get to. And I'm really happy to admit that, because I think in the process of actually turning up here, I think I'm improving every week, and I can feel that it is starting to get easier every week on week, just being able to turn up and just speak about things that I've really been thinking about. And last week was an example of one where I had just been thinking about something through the week, and I thought, let's make an episode about it, but probably didn't put as much into it as I had in other episodes. And so that in turn probably let me down a little bit, but also I think it's okay to have an episode like that every now and again, because the one I recorded the week before, I would probably say was probably one of my better episodes. And it sort of shows me that, it is something that I need to keep working on. You're never going to be great at anything if you don't try and if you don't practice at it. So really all this is for me is just a bit of practice, and I really enjoy being able to come here and speak to the microphone every week. So having these episodes and actually learning from them, I think if I wasn't learning from the mistakes that I've made before in the past and realizing the fact that episodes aren't amazing. I really haven't heard from anyone that last week's episode wasn't great, but I don't think I ever will. So I've got to take that upon myself and really reflect in the editing process as well. I can sort of sit back and think, some of the things that I've said, actually hearing it back aren't as coherent that I thought they would be. So I feel like that is something that I really need to step up, and learning from last week hopefully can drive me forward into preparing a lot more for these episodes and continuing to grow in the way that I'm recording them. After last week's episode, I think one of the things that did strike me was the fact that I feel like I need to challenge myself a little bit more. It's become too easy to come and sit down here and record these episodes on a Tuesday. And you might be saying to yourself, well, why would you want to make that any harder? Why would you want to make this process any harder than it needs to be? Why wouldn't it be nice to be able to come and enjoy the process of being able to come and sit down here and record it as easily as possible? But for me, I like the challenge, and I like actually having something in front of me and having something to actually climb over. So I want to be able to challenge myself, and that's why I've tried to put more planning into the episodes and talk about things that I may not be so skilled in, and areas that I think are able to provide a lot of value more than just being on the surface level. So you may have noticed a shift in the things that I've been talking about and trying to dig a bit deeper into some of the things that I think about and some of the things that I think are important and some of the things that I may not be the most well-versed in, but I think I can provide value. And I've been trying to plan those episodes with that in mind and trying to provide as much value as I can. So being as structured as I possibly can and actually taking the time to actually think about my notes and put good things down and have a lot of thought that goes in behind these episodes, I think is super important. But I really want to step it up to the next level. I said in episode 20 that I would love to get guests onto the podcast, and having recorded that a month ago, in that time I've been really reflecting on that and whether that would be an actual possibility or something that I could do and something that I can see myself turning towards. I've never wanted this podcast to be an interview podcast, but I would love every now and again to do an interview episode and to actually speak with a few other people. And in that way, I think that would be a big challenge for me and a big thing to actually speak to other people, interview other people, but also just have a genuine conversation with other people on here. So I think that is something that you will hear in the next few coming weeks, hopefully, and then moving forward into that as well. I'm not sure how often I would do an interview episode, but I guess I'm not going to really structure that. I'm going to try and make it as often as I'm able to get anyone on the podcast. So that would be amazing, and trying to expand the horizons of this podcast as well. I think broadening it to a wider audience through having other people on the podcast, and especially people who I'm not super close with, but people who I know, and actually reaching out. And I think that would give me good practice in that area as well, and being able to speak to really new people and people who I think can provide value, but also people who I look up to and people who I have actually found things from before. So that is something that I'm going to try to really push for. And if you guys have any suggestions of who you would love to hear on the podcast, I would really appreciate any sort of suggestions, or even what type of people, what type of professions, what type of things that they've done in their life. Is there any particular stream of people you would like me to draw from, or are you happy to really hear about anything and sort of leave it up to me into what I actually ask them about? Because I'd love to really hear a broad scope of people, especially revolving mostly around business and creativity and that sort of stuff. So hopefully I can grab some people and sort of learn a little bit about them. Do keep your ears out for that, because hopefully that will be coming in the next couple of weeks, but can't make any promises just yet. But I do want to extend myself a little bit and try to push for that on this podcast. Moving on to the last thing that I wanted to touch on before we jump into today's episode is that today, the day this episode goes live, is actually my birthday. So happy birthday to me. But I wanted to use that as an opportunity to speak about something that that I'm really passionate about and something that I've been really wanting to do and something that I have done over the past couple of years, which is Dry July. Now, I've been doing Dry July for the past 3 years and I've been doing it with my own little twist on it. So if you don't know, Dry July is a fundraiser here in Australia to raise money for people affected by cancer. And normally how it's done is by people pledging to not drink alcohol for the whole month of July. Really works well here in Australia because we're all big alcoholics. So by pledging that for a whole month, that is a really big thing for a lot of people. And you would then ask your friends and family to then donate to your cause to actually give up alcohol for the whole month. And all the money that you raise will then go to your charity of choice, which will be supporting people with cancer or either helping cancer research or helping make the lives of those with cancer a lot more enjoyable. Now, my little twist on the actual Dry July is that I won't be giving up alcohol for the whole month of July because I feel like that's far too easy of a task for me and for quite a lot of people. I don't know that July is the most month where they're often out drinking in the middle of winter, but for me, I'll be giving up coffee for the whole month. So I won't be drinking any coffee for the whole month of July. And if you know me, you'll know that's going to be such a hard thing and something that I've done over the past 2 years of not drinking coffee for the whole month of July. And it's been very tough. As someone who drinks probably 2 to 3 cups a day, to not drink any for the whole month has been very hard for the past 2 years. But I think it's a great cause and something that I've been trying to get behind for the past couple of years. This year, more than most, it really hits close to home as I've had a few friends and family members affected by several different kinds of cancer. And so really for me this year, it really hits home a lot harder than it has in the past. Of course, in the past, I've known people who have been affected by cancer before, but over this past year has been really hard. And as if 2020 wasn't hard enough for everyone, let alone having to go through your own battle with cancer. So I'm really feeling that hard this year, and I'm really trying to make as much of an impact as I can here with this fundraiser. So my goal for this year is to raise $1,000. In the past, my goal has been, I think last year I raised like $400. The year before I raised like $200. So hoping to go for $1,000 this year. We'll aim high and see where we get. I will have links to my Dry July fundraising page in the description of this podcast. I'll also have it linked on Instagram if you guys are interested in donating, and you can read up about my story there and about the things, and you can try to follow me along across the journey of July, because it's going to be very hard for me, but it's nowhere near as hard as having to go through cancer. So I'm very glad that I am able to give that up, and glad that I'm able to be in a position to choose to give that up. So I do recognize that, and I do recognize the position that I'm in. And so bringing that back around, it is my birthday today. So if you guys wanted to give me anything for my birthday, if you wanted to help me out at all, I would love it if you would go and donate to that page, or have links to it, as I said, down below. And anything you can donate whatsoever would be really appreciated. And I will keep you guys posted on how we go for the next month, and I will keep you updated with how it is to go without coffee for a month. I have done it in the past, so I know a little bit of what I'm trying to get into, but still doesn't make it any easier. I don't think last year was any easier than the year before. And if anything, it's probably going to be worse because I'm more addicted now than I ever have been. But I think it's for a good cause, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how much money I can raise through this, and hopefully a lot of friends and family will really get behind it, and I hope you guys can as well. And so now I want to jump into today's topic. I know I've had a huge intro there today. I've been talking about a lot of different things, and I hope you guys are still here listening along. But today's topic, I really want to talk about one of the biggest things that I've found that has really improved my business, and one of the things that I don't think you can start a business without. And I think people trying to go in the other direction from this can often really hurt themselves, especially as a small business. You can really go the wrong way if you're not paying enough attention to this. I would say that one of the best strategies for any small business is to do business with your friends. And a lot of people will forget this, and a lot of people sort of have the mentality to do the opposite to this, sort of, and not include their friends in their own business or in any of their undertakings through any sort of career path. But I think when starting a small business, your friends are your biggest advocates. And so using that and using anything like that to your advantage, I think, is so important, but also knowing how to provide value to them. People get so caught up in trying to remove friends from their own business and remove them from their work, and remove their work from their own life as well. For me, my whole career has been centered around my life. My life is my career. So there's nothing that I really want to divide there. I don't really want to have those two worlds separated because I really love what I do and I don't ever want to feel like I'm not at work because I really enjoy the work that I do at work. So intertwining as much of that as I possibly can and including my work in my life and including my life in my work is so important. And being able to do work and do business with friends, I think is super important. And that is why I'm bringing this up today, because it is probably single-handedly the best thing that I've ever done in my business and the one thing that has made my business grow more than anything else so far. I just want to clear up that I'm not saying that you should only do work for your friends. Although if you really want to, you can, and you can just do work for friends, but I don't know how successful that will be. Rather, I'm implying that you don't need to just make your business all business. You can have your friends be in business with you, and you can do actual business with your friends and have that be a very successful way to actually go about your business. A large majority of the people who I work with and the people who I've worked with in the past and the people who inquire with me are just like my friends. And I don't think there's any coincidence in that, because more often than not, most of the business that I get is coming from my friends. I am constantly talking about my work. I'm constantly talking about how much I love photography. I'm constantly talking about the different types of things that I do in my work with my friends. And I think that shows them that I'm really serious about this, and it shows them that I'm really professional in the work that I do, and I know what I'm trying to do, and I know where I'm trying to go. So that if a friend asked them if they knew a photographer, or they knew that a friend needed a photographer, they would be my biggest advocate, because they've heard me talk about it so much, and they know that I'm a professional in this career, and they're going to try and help me out because they're really passionate, as I am, about the work that I'm trying to do. It's also no coincidence then that those type of people that they're recommending to are just like them, because if they're friends with them, then I'll probably be friends with them as well. And so just because I don't know the person doesn't mean that we then can't end up as friends. And anyone who I've ever tried to work with, I've really made an effort to make that friendly relationship, because I don't think that it needs to be all business. I don't think just being someone on the other end of a computer screen and replying to emails in a way where there's no personality, I don't really enjoy that. And no one really likes getting an email from someone when there's no personality behind it and doesn't like to not know who's on the other end of the screen. Anyone in any sort of service industry should be trying to become friends with the people they're working with. I don't think it's just to try and get more friends. I think it actually makes the work a lot easier. I think if you're just going to have a strictly client-professional relationship, there's never going to be that amount of great work done there, especially in photography, an area which is so intimate and so close and needing to know a lot of details about the person to be able to tell the story. I think if I was just to stick with just purely business and only ask everyone the exact same question and take the same photos with every single person, there wouldn't be anything behind that, and no one would come to me and book me for that reason. The reason why people come and book me over the person next door is probably because they like me and they like my personality and they like the style that I tend to go for, and they may have heard about me through someone else who is also their friend. So therefore, they're more likely to book work with me because they know that I'm just like them and I'm more in line with the way that they like to do things, and they like to actually have a conversation with the type of person rather than just sit there with someone who is only concerned about the business and only concerned about trying to make money for themselves. After I finish working with people as well, I think I try to keep that close connection with these types of people. The types of people that I'm working with are more often than not types of people who I would be friends with anyway, so why not just keep in contact with them? And if that works out to improve my business in the long term, well, that's great. If they end up recommending me to someone else because they're actually so glad and I'm still in the front of their mind and we're still communicating, that's great. But I really like to be friends with these type of people because they're types of people that I can see. If it's on Instagram, I'm constantly replying to people, constantly trying to comment on their photos, trying to really stay in touch with these types of people because I actually genuinely care about them and their relationship and them moving forward and their family and that type of stuff, because they've really provided me and they've come into my life and I've come into theirs, and being able to maintain that friendship, I think, is one of the better things that you can do for yourself in your own life, just for one. But secondly, if that is also able to help you and your business, then that's just a win-win. And why not try and put yourself out there? And what's the worst that's going to happen is you're still going to be friends with that person. So just trying to be nice to as many people as possible and trying to be friends with the people you work with, I don't think has a negative effect. And I think this is also true for if I needed someone to do work for me. I would much rather go to someone who I already know and much rather go to a friend and who I may have not spoken to in a long time, but a friend who I actually know, as opposed to someone just new, and as opposed to hopping on Google and actually searching for someone. If I am recommended someone from someone else, I'd much rather do work with them than someone I just met online. So trying to make as many connections as possible is the only way that you can try and get in front of people. And especially in any sort of service industry with any sort of small business, the best way, or probably the largest way that you get most of your clients is through word of mouth and through referrals from other people. So trying to be nice to as many people as possible and actually caring about the types of people is super important because really people can tell if you're not interested in them at all, and trying to really put it on a persona is not going to work. So making sure that you have their best interest at heart and making sure that you're actually trying to gain friendships and actually make relationships with these people for the right reasons. If I can ever do something for one of my clients, I will always try to go out of my way to do that for them. Not necessarily have to charge them more for it, but if it's a small thing, I'm happy to do a little bit extra for them, and that actually shows them that I genuinely care, because in the end I do care. And there will be a lot of people out there who wouldn't actually go that extra mile. You can tell the people who are just trying to act versus the people who are actually in this for the right reasons, and by those small little gestures and those small little things that they will do for you, you can really tell who's here for the long run and who's not. There are so many people who don't stay in contact with the people after they've worked with them, but there is so much to be gained out of staying in contact with these people. These are now friends of yours. These are now advocates of your business. These are people who you've actually worked with before. So if you can stay in contact with these people, why wouldn't you? And why wouldn't you try and build that relationship? Why wouldn't you try and just ask them if there's anything they think you could have done to improve the business? Ask them if there's anything that they would have preferred to help you for next time. And ask them if there's anything else you can actually do for them. Try to provide a service for them even after the fact. Try to do something else for them, even if it is for free, even if it's a couple more photos, even if they would love to do this other thing, even if they have a friend who would like some photos done. If that means trying to do that and trying to provide that, I think it is so worth it, because staying truly professional in a business where you're trying to be so personal, I don't think will ever work. And making sure that you are there for the client and there for those people, in the end, is going to get you so much further than just staying behind your computer screen and never trying to build a relationship with your clients. Being in business is all about connections. And one of the things that I really struggled with in the start was not having as many connections as other people and not having connections to be able to spread the word about my business. I've never had a lot of connections in a lot of different places. I feel like the connections that I've made in my life have been pretty centralized to a few spots. And so I haven't had a lot of different people all over the place and haven't had people to share the work that I'm trying to do here. And so I've had to resort to other different places to try and build connections and build my network over the past couple of years to sort of show people that I am out here trying to do work and trying to build a base up from not much. A lot of people start businesses and have large bases already and already know a lot of people in the industry and already know a lot of people all over the place who are in their target demographic. So they already have quite a head start. But me, I've had to try to build a lot of different friends and a lot of different connections along the way. So I wanted to touch on a couple of the ways that I've been able to make those connections and the ways that I've been able to make new friends and make new networks along the way. The first place that I always turn when I'm trying to find new people or trying to find people interested in the same things I'm interested in, because I think it can be very tough to try to grow something and try to grow a business without friends in the industry, and trying to grow a business without friends or anyone you're associated to without them having people who are on the same path as you. I think it's so important to be able to find people who are going through the same struggles you're going through and be able to find that tribe, I guess, of people who are interested in the same types of things you're interested in and who can really push you along and really help you to grow and inspire you to continue to do better. So the one place that I've mostly gone for that has mostly been Instagram, and I've been just finding a lot of different people through them posting photos. Obviously, being a photographer, it's easier to find photographers on Instagram than most places. So finding people on there and being able to communicate with them and talk to them and sort of seem like you're actually really getting to know these people. It's crazy because we used to worry about talking to strangers, but now constantly I'm talking to people on Instagram who I have no idea who they are. I've never met them in person. I don't know a thing about them in their personal life, but I know what they do in their career, and they're inspiring people, and I talk to them all the time and sort of talk to different people and respond to them and send messages to them and reply to their comments and things like that. And people talking online that you've never met before. And this is one of the great benefits of today's day and age, that you can actually make friends within an industry that you may not know anyone in your own personal life who's in that industry at all. One of the best things that I love to do, although that I have been very slack at recently, is to turn up on my Instagram page and actually really put a face to a name and turn up on my stories and make sure that I'm actually speaking on there and I have a voice, and make sure that people know who I am, because I think it's so much easier to talk to someone online when you know who that person is, who you're talking to, rather than just talking to a screen. You know who's behind that actual page, and trying to make it as personal as possible is the best way to go. And I know personally for me, talking to other people, I'd much rather talk to someone who I know who they are. I've seen them, I've heard them speak before, I've actually seen their face, I've seen what they're up to in their day-to-day, and that makes it so much easier for me to approach them as opposed to someone who I've never seen before and have just seen their images. And then in that way, actually turning up, the next thing I like to do is to just go and comment on people's photos and just actually hand them a bit of feedback and tell them how much I'm enjoying their work and tell them how inspiring they actually are to me. And that really helps me to gain a lot of connections, because I think if you can do things for other people, if you can just actually share their work around, if you can send them a message and say how much you appreciate their work, if you can send a message and say how much you enjoy their stuff, I think that comes back to you tenfold, because that person is so much more likely to do the same for you and then actually build a connection. And who knows where that could go later on down the track, whether you could be working for them, you could be working with them, you could be referred by them. And so building connections like this within an industry is so important, because as I said, not only for having people to help you up and help inspire you to be a lot better, but also they can then act as friends who will then be advocates for your own work. The next place that I think people forget about is actually talking to people in person. When I'm out actually working, I'm trying to talk to as many people as possible. I'm in a very privileged position where I get to go and take photos of people's weddings. So I'm constantly trying to talk to the guests there. I'm trying to talk to anyone I possibly can and try to build connections so that they know who I am, so that if they were ever to see my face around again, they will know me. But also, who knows who you may meet there? Who knows what sort of friends you may meet there? Who knows who you may meet there? Who may also be in your industry? Who may also be trying to start a new business? Who may also be interested in the same types of thing you're interested in? And you could build that friendship that could span a long time and actually build you a lot of success in your business by having them in your network and having someone to bounce ideas off, or having people to do work for, or having someone who refers you around. It's not just for me as a wedding photographer and only to work and talk to people within that industry. I can have a chat with people in my local community. I can talk to people in my local area. I'm trying to expand that network as much as possible, and I know it can be harder in person. I feel like these days it's often harder to find people in person. Obviously, the chances of you running into someone down the street who is interested in the same types of things that you're interested in is very rare. But I think still having a chat to people, because you never know who you're going to be running into. One of the big misses in my life has been not gaining as many connections when I had chances to make connections with people in person. And so not using as many of the networking events that I've had in my life to actually build genuine connections with people has been one of the, I don't want to say regrets, but one of the things that I've probably missed out on in my life in my early years being at university or being at school, and not connecting with as many people as I possibly can, and maintaining friendships and maintaining connections later in life with people in different areas, in all different areas of types of people. So not having that as much as I possibly can. So now any chance that I get to meet new people or talk to new people or network with different people, I'm always out there trying to do that, because you never know who you may meet, and you never know who you may run into and where these people will end up in your life in 10 years' time, and you may end up friends with people who you don't even expect to be friends with. I go to church every Sunday, and every week I'm talking to someone new and someone interesting and someone who has their own type of story and is on their own journey in their own life. And hearing stories is something that I really enjoy, and being able to tell other people's stories, but hearing stories as well is something that I really, really do enjoy, and being able to hear from other people and And although a lot of the people that I've met I haven't ever met again and haven't ever heard from, you never know when one of those connections will really strike a chord with you and actually build more of a friendship. And who knows, if that person was ever to see me again, I'd probably recognize them, and probably, if I actually knew their name, that would go so much further for them actually thinking highly of me. And even those small things can help you make long-lasting friendships, but also help you make those connections that you never know where these are going to lead. I really don't want this episode to sound like I'm just trying to make friends in order to help my business, but I think in a roundabout way, I think having friends actually does help your business, and having connections will help your business. I'm not saying that it's the primary reason to have friends. If that's the only reason I was making friends, that would be the wrong way to really look at things, but it does genuinely help. And I think it's an oversight from a lot of people in not thinking that their friends can help them in business, and think that they have to do everything alone and can't ever ask for help or ask for things off their network or ask for their friends to share things around or ask for help off their friends and family, because one of the best ways that you can improve in your business is by actually doing that. It's not to say that your friends actually have to actually purchase work off you or actually have to use your services and hand you heaps of money. It's not that at all, but if I'm friends with anyone in any sort of industry, I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can to help them up and trying to promote them to anyone that I possibly see. So I would hope that friends in return would do the same for me. And I know that I've actually gained a lot of work off a lot of different friends recommending me. So that has been one of the biggest things that I've ever done, and trying to build connections like that. You never know where a connection may lead, and you never know what or who has been talking about you and your business. And then the third thing that I think people forget about, and I've just been speaking about it, but the third group who people will genuinely forget actually play a role in their life are friends they already have, or people who they may already know. There's nothing wrong with going back to people who you already know, because as I said before, it's so much easier to strike up a conversation with someone you've already met before, maybe once in the past, maybe twice in the past. Even if it's a long time ago, it's so much easier to strike up a conversation with them versus someone who you've never met before. I'm so grateful for the friends that I have in my life, because I wouldn't be where I am in my own life or in my own business today without them and without their support and without them helping me along, whether that be just being able to provide support on Instagram, whether that be just replying to my stories or actually hanging out and having a chat about different types of things that I'm working on, or whether that be actually recommending me onto other friends and family of theirs. I think without the friends that I already have, I wouldn't be where I am today, and I'm very thankful for that. And I think a lot of people overlook the friends and family that they do have. In the beginning, that was who I turned to start this business. That was who I turned to try and provide work for me and try to help me to get the business off the ground, was actually go and work for friends and family and work for free and do work for them, because I knew in turn that they would then help me out, and I knew that they would be able to share my work around, and they would really share me out there to all their network, and it was the best way to help me grow. And people can sometimes forget that they know so many people already, and that is the easiest people to go back to, and sort of, if you can do something for them, more often than not, they will happily help you. And it doesn't hurt to be nice, and it doesn't hurt to do things for other people, and remembering that we're all in this together and we're all on our own journey in life, and anything you can do for someone else, you'd be surprised how much they can appreciate that, and how much that they will reciprocate by you just being the first one to go out and do something for them. So I never want to lose the connections that I have, and I never want to be scared to actually go and ask for things of other people, whether that just be a piece of feedback on an image that I have, whether that be just, I'm up for a chat, I need an idea, I have this idea, I would like to know what your thoughts on it are. Or it may be that I really need some more work and I have a big promotion coming up, and saying to friends, can you really share this around? And I think more often than not, you don't even have to ask when real friends are there and they know the type of work you've done before, and they've seen the work you've done, and they're happy to share that work around because they know the type of person you are, and they know the journey that you're on, and they've been there from the start, and they've been hearing what you're all about. And these are the types of connections that I'm trying to build with other people just online. And I think it is possible to be done. It is able to be done, and it is something that we all should be aspiring to do. I think that I am going to wind up the episode there. I've been rambling a little bit towards the end of this episode, but I just want you guys to remember that it's okay to actually do business with your friends. And I think, if anything, I would recommend it. I would say that it's the best way to go. I don't feel like I'm ever at work, because the types of people that I'm working for are types of people who I either A, consider myself to be already friends with, or B, be the type of people who I would love to be friends with. So I never feel like I'm actually working, because these type of people are never people who put pressure on me, or never people who think that I'm any less than I am. They always believe in me and believe in the work that I'm trying to do, and that is the best way for me to actually create the best work, and for me to be friends with these people is amazing too, because it allows me to tell more of a story through my work and through the work that I'm trying to do and through the photos that I'm trying to take. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. And as I've spoken all about today, I would encourage you guys to just be as nice as you can to other different people and actually have a conversation with someone. You never know where that may go, and you never know where that friendship could actually lead, and you never know what that could do for you in your life and even in your business or in any type of career you're trying to start. And also, if you would like to make a donation to my Dry July campaign, as I said, I'll have a link in the description and also on my Instagram as well. I would really appreciate that from you guys, and I will keep you guys updated with how that's been going. And you will hear about it probably on next week's episode. But if you would like to make a donation before then, I would really appreciate it. And I really appreciate all you guys' support on this podcast and on everything that I really do moving forward in my life as well. So have a great week, guys, and I will speak to you all again next Monday. Bye.